Three early 19th century shipwrecks, found at the bottom of the Gulf nearly 200 miles off the mouth of the Mississippi River, provide tantalizing evidence of the Gulf's violent nature at that time. It was a period marked by struggles by Latin American countries for independence from Spain, as well as conflicts among the young United States, France, and Great Britain, notably the War of 1812. Those conflicts saw battles on both land and sea. Also, the political unrest of the time led to an outbreak of piracy that made the Gulf a feared spot for mariners. Now called the Monterrey Shipwrecks, Monterrey A, B, and C may have been sailing together and lost in a storm on a Gulf that continues to be known for the violence of its hurricanes. The Monterrey A shipwreck was located by sonar survey in 2011. Working with a team of archaeologists on shore, made a dive to the wreck at more than 4,000 feet below the surface. The dive revealed that the wreck was the remains of a wooden vessel with hundreds of artifacts lying within the outlines of the hull. Monterrey A's lower hull, sheathed in copper, has survived 2 centuries at the bottom of the Gulf because the copper prevents marine organisms from eating the wood that the metal sheeting is attached to. The slow corrosion of the copper has made the wood unpalatable to wood-eating mollusks. The survival of the hull and the artifacts around it show us that this was a small 2-masted vessel built for speed under sail. Artifacts found inside the hull showed that this was an armed vessel, perhaps a privateer or a pirate, with a large gun mounted forward on a rotating platform, and with smaller guns known as carronades that may have been mounted or were being stored in the hull. Carronades were short, stubby cannon that could be loaded with cannonballs or scraps of metal, including small lead shot and even nails, making these the 19th century equivalent of a sawed-off shotgun.
And initially, we thought perhaps it could be one of the Texas Republic ships that was known to have sunk somewhere in that general area, very heavily armed for a private ship, not a naval ship. Particularly, something that was somewhat unusual was a large center pivot gun. This is a gun that's mounted on a rotating carriage so it can fire in any direction. And it was something that was particularly favored by privateers because it didn't take as many men to arm a full broadside. You simply had one cannon that you had a gun crew for, and they could fire in any direction. So you could sail with a somewhat smaller crew than you could with, say, a large 18-gun warship, for example.
Coins were also found on the wreck, once kept in a small sack or bag that was now deteriorated, leaving only a clump of badly corroded silver oxide. Following their recovery and conservation, the coins' dates were visible, the latest being from 1815, which means the Monterrey shipwreck took place after that time. The artifacts visible on the site include a large cast-iron stove, the cannon, the remains of 2 crates or boxes of muskets, which appear to be mainly British weapons, and, though they date from the end of the 18th century, were commonly used weapons in the Gulf and Caribbean throughout the first half of the 19th century. Many ceramic containers, plates, a glass decanter, and hand-painted cups all at the stern where the officers of the ship would have lived. The number of artifacts include the highly valuable navigational instruments and personal possessions of the crew, which suggest the vessel sank with no survivors. If caught in a violent storm, so far out to sea, there was little chance of survival if the crew had to take to a small boat or boats in a wind-lashed sea. The physical closeness of the other 2 wrecks, Monterrey B and Monterrey C, strongly suggests that they were sailing together and were lost together. Similarities among the artifacts on all 3 sites also indicate this. These include the bottles and ceramics and a specific type of clay container from Mexico called a cantaro. Research continues, and for now, there's no clue as to the 3 vessels' names or exactly when they were lost. But Monterrey A is the only armed vessel in the group when the wind and sea sank them all. That's where archaeology can enter the picture and tell us more as research continues.